imagine with me what it would be like to have Donald Trump sitting in the Oval Office come next January. Someone who demeans women, mocks the disabled, insults Latinos and African Americans. What would it be like to have that person in the most powerful office in the world? What would it be like to have a president who pits people against each other, who doesn't try to pull America together? What would your life be like if he were in the White House? And the truth is we really don't have to guess. We just have to look at everything he has said and done in his career and in this campaign. It's a good preview of what would likely happen. You know, the great Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who he is, believe him the first time, right? If you add up all of the people and all the groups of people that he has insulted and demeaned, it makes up way more than half of America. Like if you're an immigrant, or your parents or grandparents, like my grandfather was an immigrant, you know how you will be treated and what you will be thought of. We have a president who has shown very clearly how he feels about immigrants. From the very first day of his campaign, he's promised to round up millions of immigrants and kick them out, even if that means tearing apart families and hurting our economy. If you're Latino, you know what life would be like, because we have a president who doesn't see you as American at all. He went after a distinguished federal judge born in Indiana who said, Donald said he couldn't be trusted to do his job because he was, quote, a Mexican. That judge is as American as Donald Trump. His parents may have been born in Mexico, but what in the world does that have anything to do with? If you're African American, you know what life would be like. You'd have a president who thinks the lives of black people are all crime and poverty and despair. He has no idea of the strength of the black church, or the vibrancy of black-owned businesses, or the excellence of historically black colleges and universities. You know what life would be like. We'd have a president who views people of your faith with deep suspicion and who wants to ban every Muslim in the world from ever coming to the United States, and wants to undo a core tenet of our Constitution. In this country, we defend religious freedom. That's why many people to our shore. We also have seen him insult nearly everybody else, too. And the thing that is so shocking to me is, no matter who you are, what your background is, if you don't fit into a very narrow category of people that he can relate to, then somehow you don't have a part in Trump's America. That really bothers me. Now, if you're not Mexican American or African American or Latino or Muslim or an immigrant, you might say to yourself, well, hey, well, maybe this doesn't have anything to do with me, but it does. Because you're an American. And you know, in America, we don't like other people being treated unfairly. We don't like other people being judged superficially. Know about Donald Trump by just looking at how he treats people. If you're a proud union member, you know what your life would be like? This is the man who just last year tried again and again to block a union at his hotel right here in Las Vegas. A man who says wages are too high and wants to get rid of the national minimum wage. Who has no idea how much hard-working American families need a raise. And if you're a small business owner, you also know what kind of president he will be, because he's made his fortune off the backs of people just like you. He refuses to pay contractors and workers. He often offers them pennies on the dollar for work they've already done. And he says, "You don't like it, take me to court." There are people who had to declare bankruptcy, lay off their workers, close their shops forever because they did work for him and he wouldn't pay them. This should be disqualifying for the job of running the American economy. And if you're a member of our armed forces, you know too, because we would have a commander-in-chief who is not only completely out of his depth, but whose ideas are incredibly dangerous. He actually says more countries should have nuclear weapons. And he actually talks about using them if he were president. A few days ago in Ohio, a man named Bruce Blair introduced me at a rally. As a young Air Force officer, Bruce Blair's job was to sit in an underground bunker in Montana to be ready to launch nuclear weapons if the president ever gave the order. So when he hears Donald Trump talk so casually about using nuclear weapons, it chills him to the bone. He knows our commander-in-chief needs to be steady, not reckless, rational, not hot-headed. And that's why he and dozens of former launch officers like him have come out in strong support of my campaign. And but it doesn't stop there, because Donald Trump calls our military a disaster. He says he knows more than the generals. He's insulted prisoners of war. He says he likes people who don't get captured. And he attacked a Gold Star family whose son was an Army captain who died saving his men from a suicide attempt. And just think about what life would be like for women and girls. Our girls would grow up with a president who proudly ranks women by their looks, who brags about doing things to them without their consent. Just imagine what that might do to young girls and women's confidence and self-worth. And imagine how it will affect our boys to grow up with a president who talks and acts like that. And on top of everything else, he refuses even to say he will accept the results of the election. You know, after going on the insult attack against so many people, I guess his final target is democracy itself.